Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've ever sat in one of those incredibly tense meetings where you could literally cut the air with a knife the second a certain coworker walks in, well, you know workplace friction is just part of the deal. But today, we are trading those water cooler complaints for a real strategic toolkit. We're going to figure out how to diffuse those clashes and actually build genuine rapport instead. We're tackling those inevitable office showdowns head-on by totally mastering the art of interpersonal communication.
But hey, before we get into the actual mechanics, we need an emotional anchor, the golden rule. Now, I know it sounds super simple, right? But maintaining true empathy, really anticipating how your message is going to land before you even open your mouth, is absolutely crucial. It's the literal foundation of healthy workplace communication. When we're trying to resolve office conflicts, this just reminds us that we've got to constantly think about how our words and our actions actually affect our coworkers. All right, so here is our structured agenda for today. We're going to start with the basics of interpersonal skills, move through the active listening advantage, decode some nonverbal communication, talk about delivering constructive feedback, and finally, we'll get into resolving tense office conflicts.
So, Section 1, Basics of Interpersonal Skills Beyond Just Talking. Let's start right at the foundation, because true communication in the office goes way beyond just saying words at somebody.
Interpersonal communication isn't just about the words coming out of your mouth, it's the whole shebang, the total exchange of ideas, messages, and thoughts through verbal, nonverbal, and even written acts. But here's the real secret sauce. It is absolutely essential that you have a good sense of empathy to truly grasp this dynamic and discern what the other person is feeling during the exchange. Without empathy, you're honestly just transmitting noise. But with it, you're actually building relationships and working collectively toward common goals.
Think of every conversation like a chronological journey. It kicks off with you, the source, building authentic rapport. You want to use clear, concise language and definitely avoid attacking anyone. Then, your message travels through some sort of medium to share those insights, right? It lands with the receiver, who then has to process and discern that message by basically putting themselves in your shoes. And finally, it all loops back to you as constructive feedback. If literally any link in this chain breaks, well, you've got a conflict on your hands.
Moving right along to Section 2, the active listening advantage, making colleagues feel heard. We're focusing on listening here, which is arguably the single most powerful tool you have for building immediate workplace rapport and avoiding those messy misunderstandings.
I mean, we've all been victims of the classic nod and ignore, right? When someone's looking right at you, but they're clearly drafting an email in their head. Truly listening means paying attention to the words, yes, but also the underlying emotions behind them. When you actively listen and figure out where your partner is coming from, they actually feel heard and understood. And let me tell you, this is a real game changer for office conflicts. The second an agitated colleague feels genuinely understood, it instantly de-escalates the tension. It just opens the door for real, open-minded collaboration.
Okay, Section 3, decoding nonverbal communication, the unspoken messages. What's really fascinating about this next module is that it focuses entirely on the massive impact of how we're perceived without making a single sound.
Think of this as a two-way street. On the left, you've got encoding. That's how you package your message, your vocal tone, your strategic pauses, and your body language. But on the right, decoding is your ultimate empathy tool. It's like playing detective to crack a coworker's true intentions just by paying attention to their body language.
You're not just hearing their words, you're sifting through the noise around you, reading facial expressions, and really interpreting the exact vibe they're bringing into the space.
So why does this matter so much? Well, studies actually show that relying on strong nonverbal skills really aids you in getting along better at work. Good nonverbal communication is undeniably linked with increased confidence and way better relationships. Think about it. If your words are saying, "Oh, I absolutely love this idea," but your arms are crossed so tightly you're cutting off your own circulation, your coworker is definitely going to decode that hostility. Managing your own physical presence is honestly just as vital as managing your vocabulary. Which brings us to Section 4, delivering constructive feedback, closing the communication loop. Let's see how all of this builds into that final, critical element of our communication loop, providing feedback. Now, when tensions are running high, feedback can so easily sound like a personal attack. The key here is to dispense feedback that's positive and constructive, separating the person from the problem. You want to completely avoid attacking or putting down your colleague. Instead, focus entirely on why the outcome wasn't as desired. By focusing on the process rather than the person, you ensure your recipient clearly discerns how their actions impact performance without triggering those defensive instincts.
All right, so having established these foundational tools, active listening, nonverbal decoding, and constructive feedback, we arrive at the big question. How do we actually apply this to real, tense office disagreements?
That leads us into Section 5, Resolving Tense Office Conflicts, Applying the Skills. It is time to bring this professional tutorial together by applying these communication mechanics to some specific, challenging workplace scenarios.
The crucial takeaway here is that by maintaining your calm during tense interactions and staying aware of your emotions, you unlock massive benefits. Number 1, you boost relationships by considering others' emotions. Number 2, you exchange information much more smoothly. 3, you build trust to influence others. And 4, you actually resolve conflicts. By discerning and responding to emotions effectively, you dramatically cut the likelihood of a major clash.
Let's look at a really grim staff challenge. Imagine a super high-stakes situation where everything's going wrong. Sometimes the absolute best immediate step is actually written communication. Drafting a message gives you a cooling-off period to explore the issues objectively. It lets you organize your thoughts and get feedback on your urgings safely before you even step into a volatile room to discuss things aloud.
Or what about a tense one-on-one between an employer and an employee? The power dynamics make these inherently stressful. But a highly effective nonverbal tactic here is surprisingly simple: volume control. Just maintaining a reasonable vocal volume ensures both parties feel comfortable. It stops the conversation from feeling like an interrogation, so your counterpart feels safe enough to participate entirely.
Finally, let's talk about negotiations, because those are naturally conflict-prone. To succeed at the table, you need to combine an assertive stance with deep empathy. You've got to remain calm while actively decoding their body language to understand their underlying concerns. That specific balance, holding your ground while actively listening to discern their true feelings, is the direct path to improved, peaceful, and mutually beneficial outcomes.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground in this explainer, from the sheer power of active listening to the silent, massive impact of decoding body language. So remember that golden rule we started with, and ask yourself this final question. Are you ready to use empathy and decoding to diminish clashes in your office? How are you going to use these tools to transform your workplace dynamics tomorrow? Because the next time you walk into a tense meeting, you've got exactly what you need to shift the atmosphere and turn a potential conflict into a genuine connection. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep practicing those skills.